Hello viewers, welcome to ekamiasacademy. Today we are going to discuss about recent successful test of reusable launch vehicle technology by ISRO. Reusable launch vehicle technology demonstration is conducted successfully by ISRO. In this context, we'll know about what is this technology, why ISRO is interested in this technology, and what is this PUSHPAK, which is a winged space rocket, you can say, which can be re-entered into the atmosphere after launching a specified satellite in its orbit. So what is the technology behind this and why India is interested in this technology and all other things related to this. Not only this, and then we'll also know about different launch vehicles of ISRO so far. Okay, so these are the things, and we'll also understand recently, if you have remembered, ISRO has selected second launch port in one of the place in Tamil Nadu. So why when we have this SHAR, that is Harish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota, why they have tested again or why they wanted to build another space launch port in Tamil Nadu. All these things we'll know as part of this video. Stay tuned. So here, first thing, if you go back 1 year, almost, okay, so in 2023, we have successfully tested Chandrayaan 3 and we became the first country to land on the lunar south pole. So if you have remembered, India became the first country. So in this, if you estimate the cost of Chandrayaan 3, it almost accounted for $75 million only. And if you equate it with Interstellar movie, Hollywood movie of Interstellar, okay, Hollywood movie Interstellar, then it almost accounted for $165 million. So when you draw a comparison, that means in terms of cost, means our Chandrayaan 3 is way below or far below than a Hollywood movie. That means ISRO is always trying to launch cost-effective satellites. That is what I want to draw the conclusion from this. So cost effectiveness is the main thing which is taken care by ISRO whenever it is launching different missions. So as they wanted to progress further in technology and also they wanted to minimize the cost of launch, now they have successfully tested. This is not going to be the first one. Already they have tested in since 2016. This reusable launch vehicles are being tested. Even in 2023 also we have tested, but yesterday's test, okay, this is in second in series, you can say, reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator. So what happens in this, we'll understand. Here what happens is ISRO, to launch a rocket, okay, to launch a satellite, be it Chandrayaan 3 or Gaganyaan mission or even Aditya L1 or something. So whatever the mission, space mission can be. So whenever it wants to launch a satellite, it requires a launch vehicle. We'll understand it clearly what is a launch vehicle. But for the time being, just understand launch vehicle is used to place the satellite in its designated orbit. So this launch vehicle normally will carry the satellite. So for example, this is the ISRO's launch, okay, so from here into the atmosphere, if this is a designated orbit, okay, so it will be placing this at the designated orbit, and this launch vehicle, it will it will open up into different parts and it will be coming back, or it will be dissipated, you can say, or it will be degraded into different parts and it will fall back into oceans, okay, so safely where there is no human existence, there they will be falling down. So normally these launch vehicles, once launched, they cannot be reused. So that is why every time when you are going for a new launch, you have to prepare a launch vehicle also. This is increasing the cost of our experiments or our launches. So that is why, to decrease this cost, now we are trying to test reusable technology in terms of launch vehicles also. This is what we named as PUSHPAK study. So if you have remembered, PUSHPAK is the name of a flying vehicle, which is the vehicle of Kuber. If you have remembered, Kuber, god who is considered as money, god of money or something. So it is equated in Ramayana. So according to Ramayana, Kuber has this vehicle with name PUSHPAK VIMAN. So that is why they have named it, because it is a flying vehicle. So what they have tested yesterday means, here first most thing we need to remember is this particular technology is tested. That means here yesterday they didn't launch any satellite, but what they have done is, Chinook helicopters are there with Indian Air Force. No? From which country we have borrowed this Chinook helicopters? Try to answer in the comment section. Okay. So this Chinook helicopter has carried this PUSHPAK, or you can say winged space rocket also into the some elevation. They have taken and they have lifted it up to the some certain elevation, you can say, and then from there they have dropped it down. From there they have dropped it down, so that like it is appearing like, or it is set in a way that in case if it is launching a satellite and again re-entering into the atmosphere, it should safe land on a runway. Then same again, after some maintenance it can be reused. That means on a runway same like a plane it should land, and again after some maintenance it can be reused for further launches. This is the objective of yesterday's technology demonstration, RLV TDV call. Okay, so this is what tested. That means why we are using this reusable launch vehicles means mainly to decrease the cost and to improve our technology also. That means, is India the first country whether to test this technology means no. Already there are number of countries like USA, you have France, you have Japan, you have Russia, you have China also you have. So these countries already have this reusable launch vehicle technology with them, and India has now, like, it is testing and it is trying to join this allied group of space countries which are using this reusable launch vehicles. Already US and Russia, they have used this reusable launch vehicle in operational flights also. That means to launch the satellites in designated orbits, they have tested not only technologically but they are operationally also they have tested, and they are successful. Almost US flight it has tested and it has worked for almost 135 times. Same launch vehicle you can see. In that way they are using. That means India is now in the nascent stage and it is trying to test its technology, and it will take time to fully become operational. So in this context, what are the things we need to know is, see what happens is this technology demonstrator PUSHPAK, whatever you can see in the image here. So this PUSHPAK, this will be used here. This will be entering into the atmosphere, and then it will place that particular satellite which is launched through this into the designated orbit, and again it will re-enter into the atmosphere. That means again it has to come back into the atmosphere, and again from there it has to land on the specific location according to which it was set. Okay, there it will be landing like a same plane, like aeroplane how it is landing on the runway, same way it will also land on the runway, and then after some maintenance we can again you reuse this for another purpose also. In this way, this was developed. But one main challenge here we have is when it is re-entering into the atmosphere, so it has to withstand the harsh temperatures. No, that is why the material which is with which we are making up this particular reusable launch vehicle, it has to be very appropriate, and it has to withstand extreme temperatures in the atmosphere. That is why this technology, the material which is used and how it is developed and all is very important in this particular technology demonstration. So these are the things which you need to remember. Then another most important thing you need to remember is here the launch vehicles. We'll understand what are the launch vehicles released by ISRO subsequently. But before that, let's see the points of discussion. We'll look into the what is a reusable launch vehicle, why it is in use, various launch vehicles of ISRO, and we'll understand what is this PUSHPAK and reusable landing vehicle, and what is the recent second launch port of ISRO, where it is located, and why we are testing from the second place along with SHAR. These are the things which we are going to see, and here you can see this forms part of GS paper 3 in science and technology, especially space technology domain. So here we'll understand it, why it is in use. Yesterday itself ISRO has successfully conducted this landing experiment of PUSHPAK. From where they have conducted this is from Chitradurg district of Karnataka. These type of questions can be asked. Okay, do remember the location also. Here it is the aeronautical launch station is there. So from there they have tested this, and from Indian Air Force Chinook helicopter they have successfully dropped this particular PUSHPAK. Okay, so that it has landed on the runway successfully or not, that was tested. So before that we need to understand what are the launch vehicles of ISRO. So why a launch vehicle is required? Already I told you, launch vehicle is nothing but rocket powered vehicle. Okay, rocket powered vehicle means they will carry the oxygen cylinders along with them, not like jets. Okay, so which breathe oxygen from the atmosphere. So what happens here is they will place the spacecraft or the satellite in the designated orbit, and they will break into parts and they'll fall into the oceans. This is what the purpose of launch vehicles. If you see the history of India, until 1960s, we didn't have any space launches and all. So we used to depend on another country's rockets or satellites, okay, to be launched and all. So what happened is in 1960s, for the first time, what we have done, we borrowed sounding rockets from USA. Okay, because we didn't have any indigenous rockets of our own. So sounding rockets means these will be used to measure how much is the measurement in the atmosphere and all. To understand the measurements, these sounding rockets will be used. Normally they have borrowed these from USA at that point of time because of lack of technology of our own. Then what happened? Subsequently in 1970s, we developed our indigenous means our own indigenous sounding rockets named as Rohini. sounding rockets of India. Name is very important, Rohini. Then what happened? Subsequently, in 1980, we have tested satellite launch vehicle SLV technology, and we have successfully tested SLV-3 also. This was tested for the first time. We have tested and we have launched our own launch vehicle. Then what happened in 1990s again? You can say we have tested a new form of this launch vehicle, that is augmented satellite launch vehicle ASLV. Okay, these are experimental things which are conducted in 80s and 90s. Then what happened? Then in 1993 we started developing and we have tested this PSLV, Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, and you know this is considered as workhorse of ISRO because of its huge success rate. Okay, so most of the launches of PSLV except two are successful. So that is why we rely on PSLV for low weight satellites or low Earth orbit satellites. Then what happened in 2001? Because if we want to launch a heavy satellite, okay, so we have to depend on foreign countries and we have to ask their help. That is why in 2001 we have developed GSLV. Then in 2014, to launch interspace, or you can say interplanetary missions and all, we need to have a huge payload. For them, we have developed GSLV MK3 or Mark 3, with which we have tested even Chandrayaan 3 and all these things. Okay, so in this way we have developed our own launch vehicles. So here you can see the images. This is the progress what we made so far. SLV in 1980s this was made, 1990s ASLV, 1993 we have this PSLV, then 2001 we have GSLV, then 2014 we have this GSLV MK3 or Mark 3. So we'll understand one by one in detail now. So do remember that this satellite launch vehicles like SLV, ASLV, so these are retired, means we are not using them anymore. And do remember the most important person involved in this technology development and all is Abdul Kalam, okay, who was the former president of India, and you know he is also considered as missile man of India. So because of his contributions we had these technologies tested. So do remember here the launch vehicles also depends on the orbit where they have to be launched. Okay, low Earth orbits will have low weight satellites and all. In that way, they can be having their classification also. But here we understand right from this particular phase-wise development. So satellite launch vehicle SLVs. Okay, so these are first rockets developed. Okay, so in 1980s we have developed this, and this was followed by augmented launch vehicle. You can see. Okay, so augmented launch vehicle was developed subsequently. So these ASLV and SLV both. Okay, so what we have, these can carry the satellites maximum up to 150 kgs into low Earth orbits only. Okay, so these are the two things which have the limitations, because you cannot carry more than 150 kg and you cannot place more than low Earth orbit. Okay, that means low Earth orbit means normally 400 to 700 kilometers range that was existed at that point of time. This is a limitation they have with augmented or satellite launch vehicle technology. Then what happened? Then we have this PSLV which is developed in 1994. So 93 they have tested and successful launch happened in 1994. Today you know it has so much developments and all these things were brought, and it is considered as most reliable because almost except two missions, all the missions of PSLV are successful. And notably, if you have remember Chandrayaan 1 and MOM mission, Mangalyaan, we have the Mars Orbiter mission 2013. All these are conducted with PSLV only. Okay, now we have this PSLV which is actively working as a launch vehicle for low Earth orbits or low weight satellites. Okay, then we have another satellite that is called GSLV. So what is this GSLV? This is more powerful rocket, you can say, because it carries huge heavy satellites into the deeper space. Means compared to PSLV, the range is more in GSLV and also the weight is also more. That means you can carry maximum of 10,000 kg satellites also here, okay, into the low Earth orbits. And if you decrease the weight, you can even carry farther also. In that way, it is also most used satellites. And for communication satellites, normally we use this GSLV. And now in the recent times, we are using this cryogenic technology also. So this is what another recent development you can say in terms of GSLV. Then we'll understand what are the satellite launch vehicles which are in the trend. Okay, you can say these are under development of ISRO. So now what is the main purpose is cost effective launch, because sometimes the vehicle may be like, in case if you are using PSLV and GSLV, you cannot launch small satellites, no, because of the huge cost they incur. So in case if we want to launch small satellites which are less than 500 kgs or something, then we need to have small satellite launch vehicles also, no, which are cost effective. For these reasons we are developing these SLVs, and mainly for this purpose only, for small satellite launch vehicles only. Now ISRO has chosen Kulashekharapatnam. Kulashekharapatnam. This is in Tamil Nadu. Okay, so this was chosen as ISRO's second launch port. Launch port means from where the satellites will be launched. Okay, you know already ISRO always tested satellites from SHAR, that is Satish Dhawan Space Center. Okay, you have in Sriharikota. No, this is normally used for heavier satellites. Okay, but small satellites we don't have in this particular launch port of SHAR. It has only two launch ports. Okay, so these two launch ports are always busy with these operations and all. So for handling this small satellite launch vehicles only, this Kulashekharapatnam was chosen as second launch port of ISRO. Then we'll understand what is the advantage of this place compared to the SHAR. Okay, these are the things which we'll understand. Just have patience. Then in the recent times, we are also having another technology, that is reusable launch vehicle technology, RLVs we call. Okay, what is this RLVs, or future rockets you can say? Why? Because means in case if you want to if you want to save your costs and if you want to use your money efficiently, then you have to decrease the costs on these things. Okay, that means that is why we are testing this reusable launch vehicles, so that only small part of the rockets can be destroyed or can be restricted, and the rest of the part will re-enter into the atmosphere, and it will safe land on the surface of the earth, so that we can use it for the further operations. Okay, so this is what it operates like airplane, which is land, it is flying again, it will come back in the same way. So to cut down the cost, it is mainly developing the reusable launch vehicles. Okay, these are under development only. This is what the most important thing you need to remember. Then what is the recent news about to test the fully RLV, means reusable launch vehicle, and had to have low access cost to the space. That is why we are testing this reusable launch vehicles. Previously, it was first time tested in 2016. In 23 also we have tested a technology to demonstrate it. And do remember, this is a winged spacecraft. Okay, spacecraft on a rocket, and it has a solid booster or engine which is used to fly. Okay, into the space. This is what how it operates. Now Pushpak means, as I told you, this is named after epic Ramayana on the name of the Kuber vehicle, which is considered as a flying vehicle in Ramayana. So and here you have to remember, it is a single stage to orbit vehicle. So it is designated as all rocket only, fully reusable. Okay, so after making some changes, you can use it for further times. Okay, many number of times. Then what is this reusable landing vehicle or launching vehicle technology means? You can launch the same thing or the same vehicle, landing vehicle or launch vehicle, into space many number of times to decrease the cost or to save the money. Okay, then it has also this super expensive rocket booster, so that it will be used. That is why, because normally launch vehicles will be having this boosters, in case if they're not used multiple number of times, it always occupies a huge place in the cost. That is why to to ensure that reusability and to refuel these things and saving the cost, this particular technology is tested. And one most important thing is heat shields and all these things have to be adjusted, because almost when they're re-entering into the atmosphere after the successful launch, it has to withstand the huge temperatures. That is why heat shields and all these things have to be taken care. The most important thing. Okay, and it consists of two stages only. In the first stage, what happens is it will go into the space and it will place there, and second stage is again it will enter into the atmosphere back, and after some maintenance it can be available for reuse. This is what the technology involved in this, and why we are having the second rocket launch port of ISRO means, if you have remembered, Sriharikota is on the coast of AP near the Nellore. Okay, and here you have Sri Lanka. No? That means you cannot launch directly, because it may enter into the airspace of Sri Lanka. In case if it falls down in the land of Sri Lanka and all, it becomes a sovereign issue, and it will involve the dispute between two countries. It can become. Okay, that is why what they have to change, and they have to change the direction or the way in which the rocket passes through, so that here you have to increase the fuel intake, and you will try to see that it will bypass Sri Lanka and then it will go straight. But now if it is chosen in Kulashekharapatnam without going through Sri Lanka directly like this, okay, so it is clear now. It can directly go without bypassing any Sri Lanka or any other territory. So we can save our fuel cost also. And the same thing can be used for small satellite launch vehicles. In this way, as we have both benefits, now we have chosen Kulashekharapatnam as the second rocket launch port of ISRO. So it can be very important question in the upcoming exams, because in the second instance only we're having this launch port. Otherwise, we have only one. Okay. So do remember Kulashekharapatnam, geographically advantageous location in Tamil Tamil Nadu's Thoothukudi district, and because of its commercial and small satellite launch vehicles, it can have huge demand in future. Okay, so already I explained SHAR, whatever we have in Sriharkota, that is used for heavier satellites now. Okay, it is operational. We have only 2 launch ports there, and those 2 are busy with heavier satellites like communication satellite or the space missions and all. So that is why for small satellite launch vehicles, and also these type of issues can be resolved, like bypass in Sri Lanka is difficult all the time. So for these reasons, we have developed this second launch port of ISRO in Kulashekharapatnam. Now let's see the practice question given for prelims yesterday. With respect to plastic waste management in India, consider the following statements. India has pledged to phase out single-use plastics by 2025. It is not 25, 2022 itself. So you can rule out option 1, and you have only one answer, that is 2 and 3. Even in case if you don't know 2 and 3 also, you can answer like this in case if you know the fundamental fact. Okay, then today's practice question you can see with reference to India's launch vehicles, PSLV launch vehicles useful for Earth resources monitoring, whereas GSLVs are designed for launching communication satellites. Then satellites launched by PSLV appear to remain permanently fixed in the same position in the sky and are viewed from a particular location on the Earth as viewed. Okay, then GSLV Mk3 is a 4-stage launch vehicle, and with the first and third stages solid rocket motors, and the second and fourth stages will use liquid rocket engines. Okay, so here you need to answer which of the following statements are correct among the given options. And then Minds question, you can see Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle is considered as ISRO's workhorse. Elaborate why it is considered as workhorse of ISRO. Here you have to mention what are the features of PSLV, what is its success rate, why it is considered as workhorse, and give some real-time by giving real-time examples. As we have reached to the end of the video, today we have discussed about the reusable launch vehicle technology demonstrator conducted, and it as it is named as PUSHPAK. We have seen what is the technology involved, why ISRO is going to test these type of technologies, and what are the countries with same technology. And we also have seen different launch vehicles of ISRO and in detail. Okay, so sometime or other, in case if we find a static video, then we can go in detail with respect to launch vehicles. Okay, for the time being, we have discussed in a short and brief way. So these are the things which we have discussed mainly with respect to the ISRO and why ISRO has chosen Kulashekharapatnam as a second launch port. Okay, so these are the aspects we have discussed related to space technology of ISRO. And thanks for watching. Have a good day.